I'm at the Satish Dhawan Space Centre. The Chandrayaan 2 satellite has just been put in orbit. I have with me Dr. Jyotsana Dhawan. She is the daughter of Dr. Satish Dhawan, and she witnessed what happened when the launch was aborted on July 15th, and she witnessed what happened today when the liftoff was successful. Dr. Jyotsana, when you went into the control room today, what was the mood of the scientists? Were they worried, anxious, or what was the mood?
Well, as far as we could tell, they seemed as calm as they were on July 15th. They were focused, they were relaxed, they were looking at the TV monitors, the screen monitors, which were telling them various parameters which were being monitored. And there was, of course, the voiceover telling them the countdown. And what was really exciting was when the countdown passed the 56th minute, the minus 56.
T minus 56.
T minus 56 passed well, and there was a collective sigh. And then the audience who had gathered, again, a large number of people who were concerned with the Space Centre, as well as other people, former chairman, the principal scientific advisor, so many people were there. And people went back to discussing the launch and various other things. So there was a buzz which was going on in the room. But every so often people would look forward and look at what the scientists were doing. And, as the countdown went further, as it reached T minus 15 minutes, everything hushed. Because then the number of things that was happening and was being monitored were coming thick and fast. And we didn't want to miss anything. And collectively, at the time of about 4 minutes before liftoff, lots of us got up and went outside to actually view the rocket going up. And so I can say that, from your first question, you asked what the scientists were doing. They were doing their job. And we were delighted to see them just continuing to go ahead calmly with expert,
Candor.
Yes.
So unruffled when the abort happened,
yes.
Unruffled when today's success happened. Was that the mood?
Yes. And I think that that's quite a philosophical thing, don't you think? To let both failure and success sit lightly on your shoulders. It is a marvelous thing. And yet there is so much riding on it. So, as I said, I didn't call what the abort was as a failure. It was a setback. And from what I gathered talking to people here today, everything had been understood as to what the setback was. They had identified the flaw and they figured it out within hours. And they had already planned and plotted their recovery, and they did it within a week.
So when you were sitting there and when you saw the geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle Mark III, and you said you went out onto the balcony to see, every time I see a launch, it kind of comes and hits you into your face, and that boom when it comes. What was your feeling?
Oh, it was breathtaking. I had not expected to be so overawed, actually. I had thought, we have seen so many launches take place in movies, for example, and in movies the drama is always built up with so many extraneous factors. But when you're standing there and you're watching this beam of light coursing its way to the heavens, and you feel the power of that, and what you actually feel is the power of so many individuals who worked together to make this singular moment happen. And that was what was truly awesome.
So 10 seconds of joy?
Oh, more than joy. I was actually weeping, I think, uncontrollably, without realizing it, because it was something so amazing. And when we came back and we saw that the satellite was being tracked and we could see the onboard camera telling us what was actually happening, it was not just because, the rocket disappears into the heavens through the clouds.
So you saw professionalism in the control room?
Oh, absolutely. Because that seems to be what marks them. There was, as I said, a relaxed atmosphere, despite the fact that there must have been so much tension. It didn't communicate itself to us. They were on track, they knew what they were doing, and the chairman was there, Dr. Shivan, and, in a sense, without the pressure of the, impending visit. Perhaps that was also one of the things. But they were relaxed and they were on track. And the countdown went, and as I said, at 15 minutes, T-minus 15 minutes, when the number of parameters that was being monitored started being announced thick and fast, there was a building atmosphere of tension and excitement amongst all of us.
So when it goes from 10, 9, 8, and you saw,
yes,
it takes a little time for the rocket to come up.
Yes,
What was it going on in your mind?
Oh, I expected that it was going to come up at a particular site, but then I realized I had to move a few arcs away, because it emerged through the trees and then we felt it. It's not just seeing this incredible light, but feeling the rocket thrusters pushing up, defying gravity, and coursing towards the heavens.
You are a role model for India by being a scientist at the Center for Cellular Molecular Biology. The mission director and the project director for Chandrayaan 2 are both women, Vanita and Ritu Karidhal. Does it show that Indian women and Indian women scientists have come of age?
Well, I think Indian women and Indian women scientists have been coming of age for a long time. I think we've been there and they have, perhaps we need a greater representation, but it's absolutely, it's a matter of pride, and it's delightful that both such high-placed project director and mission director are both women, and that they held their own in this challenging field. For me, another thing that was of great pride was the fact that here is this technological feat of integrated engineering that is now putting in place a project which is pure science. It is exploration, and it's doing something which is being done for the first time, okay? Exploring the dark side of the moon.
The near side of the moon. Dark side we are not exploring. We are landing on the near side.
That's true. I misspoke. It's landing at the southern pole, and there are projects on which are to do with mapping the surface, to do with the chemistry, to do with imaging, to do with figuring out the atmospherics. It's all kinds of exciting things that we don't know yet and which will further human knowledge. And I think that that's marvelous, that a country like ours can put together this technological feat with a wonderful basic science question at the end of it.
For 1.3 billion Indians, I think what matters most is putting India's flag on the lunar surface. Do you think that's exciting? And do you think that would be mission accomplished when that happens?
So I can see that it's important to have our flag on the lunar surface, but frankly, I think we need to look beyond. We're not just Indians, we're humans. And I think as humans, we need to be proud of this moment, but we also need to take to step back and think of what it is that we are doing. Are we doing space exploration merely for exploitation? And that is something that needs to inform our further science and other missions. So while I think it is really wonderful that this is happening in India, I think we also need to think, how are we going to go forward with this?
Do you think your dad would be very happy seeing Chandrayaan 2 being put in Earth orbit, and he put in place such a marvelous launch port and such a marvelous bunch of scientists and engineers?
Oh, I'm absolutely convinced that he would be very proud. Maybe he's on the moon already. Maybe he's over the moon.
and waiting for the Vikram lander to come. So Vikram and Satish Dhawan both getting together on the moon?
Quite possibly.
So that was Dr. Jyotsana Dhawan telling us that the mood in the control room was of calm, was of very sharp focus for a mission to be accomplished, a technological mission which is going to do high science. With Chandrayaan 2 in the Earth orbit, there are many more steps still to be achieved. This is only the beginning. With camera person Alexander Edwin, in Sriharikota, Pallav Bagla for NDTV.